Well, I just recorded the whole thing and then went to my phone and found out that it hadn't been recording at all. So here we go with the second attempt. Let me actually just check and make sure that I'm not... Okay. Alrighty. So I think if I kind of sit here, this will be our best bet for me being able to talk with the presentation. Good morning, everybody. My name is Emily Cornet-Ching, and today I'm going to be telling you about the business behind being a professional race car driver. My sister, Sarah, currently races professionally, so I'm lucky enough to have had the inside look. Few things that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the cost of racing and the importance of sponsorships. We're going to talk a little bit about building your brand and giving back through philanthropic endeavors. Talk a little bit about the challenges that racers currently face. And then finally, the most exciting part, we're going to talk about race day. So to start it off, and give you guys an idea of how much it costs to race, I have figure 1 here, and it is a pie chart breaking up the costs of a single race in my sister's current series. So the approximate cost for one race is about $54,000, and that is excluding the value of both of the race cars, which are valued at about $115,000 each, and they'll generally bring two to each race that they go to. So taking a look at it, you can see a large portion goes to staff payroll. That'll be her crew and her crew chief. As well, the large orange part is actually tires. People don't realize what a huge expense tires can be, but it's about $15,000 for 4 sets of tires for the one race. As well, you've got a large expense in motor depreciation. And then some smaller expenses, you've got your hotel fee, your hauler rental fee, your gate entry fee, and even your fuel, which is the smallest slice in the pie, but will still run you about $750 per race. So looking at these expenses, it's pretty easy to see why it's important for racers to find sponsorships. So a sponsorship is a partnership between a racer and their team and a separate company. Now figure 2 here is a Dickies logo in the form of a decal on my sister's hood of her race car, because Dickies is currently my sister's main sponsor. So the racers will represent their sponsor both on the track in the form of decals and competing for that top spot, but also off the track when it comes to media obligations and interviews. Companies aren't just going to be looking for somebody who can deliver in the form of wins, but someone who is going to represent them well and really build their brand up synonymously with the driver. When it comes to finding sponsorships, it can be a little bit challenging. It's not easy to convince a company that making a large financial investment into you and your career is also going to be beneficial to them. So when you're seeking sponsorship, it's really important to come with a written business proposal, have actual numbers for them, and really be able to show them where that return on the investment is going to be. Finding sponsorship is a part of racing that a lot of people don't realize, and it's just business pitch after business pitch after business pitch, really trying to find that company that you can work together with to achieve both of your goals and really build up your brand. So a brand, as we know, is the image or perception brought into your mind based on hearing a name or a company. So a few different ways to build up your brand as a race car driver would include meeting fans and making public appearances, really engaging with those people that support you, as well conducting media interviews. I've been lucky enough to see my sister handle herself with such grace and ease in many of the interviews that she's done. And I noticed that she'll never miss the opportunity to thank her sponsor and to promote them, and also to talk about kind of her long-term goals, just to really build that brand and open up the doors for maybe other opportunities from other businesses who feel that they can relate to her plans and what she's saying. Networking as well is extremely important in all businesses, and racing is no different. You really want to be able to interact with those people who share your passion and could potentially teach you new things and hopefully open up the door for new opportunities and new areas for growth. But you do want to keep in mind when you are building your brand that you are not only representing yourself, but you're representing your sponsors as well. And I have a quote down at the bottom here. It is by Jeff Bezos, and he is the CEO and founder of Amazon.com. And he says that your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room, which I think rings pretty true. And one way to kind of influence your brand positively would be through philanthropy. So, in my opinion, philanthropy is an integral part of any successful and well-rounded business. Now, figure 3 here is Sarah Cornett Ching, my sister, and her crew chief, Tony, at the Tim Hortons Children's Camp in Kentucky. And they spent the day there talking to the kids, telling them about racing, showing them the car, and just hanging out with them. And as well, they actually got a car wrap designed, fully themed with the Tim Hortons Send a Kid to Camp Foundation. And they raced it at the Kentucky Speedway in hopes of raising some awareness for the foundation and potentially encouraging donations. And it just goes to show you that there are always ways to be able to give back and fulfill that societal responsibility, despite the fact that maybe you don't have all the means to make a large financial donation. As long as I can remember, my sister has been using whatever kind of opportunities that she has to give back. So it's been really inspiring to see the way you can actually make a difference despite the means that you have. Now, racing obviously faces a little bit of challenges, as many industries do. Racing as a sport currently faces a little bit of adversity just because companies are finding a hard time justifying making such huge investments into both the races and the race car drivers. So it is slightly losing its relevance in that way. And the other problem with that is that there is a huge competitive advantage for those drivers who have a personal financial backing and don't have to depend on the outside help of sponsorships. So when you're racing someone and it comes down to, 0.01 of a second, then the amount of money that you are able to put into your equipment and put into the building of your car is really going to give you the one-up on the competition. As well, for my sister particularly, she is one of only about 15 currently active female professional race car drivers, which makes up less than 1% of all race car drivers. And as well, there's only about 40 or 50 Canadian drivers. So again, she's part of that small 5% margin of all professional drivers. So now we come to the most exciting part of her career, which is race day. Now, Sarah will start off a typical race day, attending drivers' meetings, going over the rules and the safety standards, meeting with fans, signing autographs, again, engaging with her supporters. Meanwhile, her crew will be thrashing to get the car ready to send it through tech, which is short for technical inspection. And in tech, they measure every millimeter of the car, they weigh it, they look at every part to make sure that all cars are conforming to specification, and otherwise they are not able to race. So generally about 25 or 30 cars start a race. Their starting order is determined by qualifying laps, where the fastest lap will get the best starting position. There is a lot of strategy involved in the race that people don't really realize. Generally, the cars will not have big enough fuel tanks to be able to last the entire race without having to come into the pits for fuel. So it's up to the teams to decide when the right time to do that is in order to give them an advantage. And there are many cases where choosing the wrong or choosing the right time can make the difference of winning a race or not winning a race. So then as the drivers keep going, the flagman will wave the white flag, signaling that there's only one lap to go. So drivers are going to be giving it their all, and the first person to cross that finish line to the waving checkered flag is going to be the winner of the race. Generally, prizes for the race winners are cash, and they can range anywhere from like $20,000 to upwards of $1 million, depending on what series you're in. So to summarize, whether it's finding sponsorships or facing adversity, whether it's giving back or working on building your brand, or whether it's going almost 300 kilometers an hour with cars whizzing by you on either side, there is only one thing that I know for sure, and that is that Sarah is definitely the cooler sister. And that's all she wrote.